What happens when the hallowed halls of government become a gladiatorial arena and a congressional hearing transforms into a brutal cross-examination? We are about to witness a fiery, unfiltered confrontation that peels back the veneer of political decorum to reveal the raw animosity beneath. In one corner, we have Congressman Salud Carbajal, a Marine veteran armed with a barrage of pointed questions and a prosecutorial demeanor. In the other, the United States Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, a high-ranking official finding himself cornered, his authority and competence under direct assault. This is not a simple policy discussion. It is a calculated political attack. The accusations are severe: politicizing the armed forces, sharing classified information, and a fundamental unfitness to lead. Carbajal's strategy is relentless, demanding simple yes or no answers to profoundly complex questions, effectively setting a series of political traps. But beyond the explosive rhetoric and the palpable tension, what is the true nature of this exchange? Is this a masterclass in holding power to account, a calculated piece of political demolition, or simply a disturbing breakdown of civil discourse where performance trumps substance?
It shouldn't come as no surprise that I have serious concerns with both the deployment of the National Guard and the Marines to Los Angeles. I served in the Marine Corps. We are trained to be war fighters, not for crowd control. Everyone here should be alarmed that the president has sent armed forces into a city against the wishes of a governor and mayor. I am concerned this administration is purposely escalating the situation with this step and politicizing our armed forces in the process. Let's call it for what it is. It's political theater. Hegseth, are the Marines in Los Angeles ordered to protect property by any means necessary?
Sir, I would say the ICE officers and police officers being attacked is not political theater. The National Guard and Marines,
just yes or no. Just yes or no.
The National Guard and Marines have the full authority to protect federal ICE agents.
Yes or no.
Can
you just say yes or no? This isn't Fox anymore. Just yes or no.
They're there to protect federal agents and federal...
Another BS answer. Under the SRUF, the use of force, are Marines allowed to fire warning shots?
No.
Now that's more like it. Isn't that easy? Well, I'm going to beat this drum because you refuse to take responsibility. Will you take responsibility for having made a mistake? Not to mention, many people would say break the law, in participating in the Signal group chat that included a journalist, your wife, your brother, where classified information was shared.
Sir, every way I communicate is authorized.
Okay, if you want to say that. I have called for your resignation. I didn't think you were qualified before your confirmation, and you have done nothing to inspire confidence in your ability to lead competently. You broke the law in sharing classified information, and in doing so, endangered the lives of our service members that you are responsible for. Your inability to hold yourself accountable makes you incapable to lead. This alone makes you unfit to be the Secretary of Defense. Secretary, do you think the United States should continue supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, a nation that is hostile towards the United States?
Well, as you know, sir, President Trump is committed to peace.
No, I just want yes or no answers.
Today, the United States has spent billions of dollars.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Over years.
Just yes or no. Can I get a yes or no out of you?
We continue to send
Come on.
Presidential drawdown.
It's that easy. Kindergartners could give me a yes or no. Yes or no.
Yes, we support peace in Ukraine.
Come on. Is this really leadership? You're an embarrassment to the United States. If Russia invades NATO allies, are you going to recommend to the president that we fulfill our Article 5 obligations?
Well, Russia has not invaded NATO allies.
No.
President Trump
No. I reclaim my time. Yes or no? It's that simple.
There's Article 5 in NATO, which we recognize.
So is the answer yes or no?
That's what Article 5 is, yes.
Good. I'm glad you brought yourself to saying yes. Do you think political allegiance to Trump is a requirement for serving our nation, either in uniform or a civilian in the department?
I'm incredibly proud, as are millions of Americans.
No. Not today, Hegseth. Yes or no?
Congressman, you know what a silly question that is.
But silly enough
fidelity
to
to the
warrant a
Constitution.
very straightforward answer. Yes or no?
We all support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You know what?
We're proud to serve
I'm not going to
President
waste
Trump.
my time anymore. You're not worthy of my attention or my questions. You're an embarrassment to this country. You're unfit to lead. And there's been bipartisan members of Congress that have called for your resignation. You should just get the hell out and let somebody competently lead this department.
Mr. Chairman, do we not have any decorum in here?
The confrontation we've just witnessed, orchestrated by Congressman Salud Carbajal, was far more than a standard legislative inquiry. It was a deliberate, methodical, and aggressive strategy designed not merely to gather information, but to dismantle the credibility of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, in a public forum. To answer the question we posed at the beginning, whether this was accountability, demolition, or a breakdown of discourse, we must dissect Carbajal's performance through the lenses of his argumentation, his demeanor, and his adaptive tactics. First, let's analyze the logic and structure of his questioning. Carbajal did not ask random questions. He constructed a narrative of incompetence and illegitimacy. His line of inquiry followed a clear, escalating progression. He began with a broad policy disagreement, the deployment of the National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles. Citing his own service in the Marine Corps, he established his authority on the matter, arguing that these forces are trained as war fighters, not for crowd control. This initial point served to frame the administration's actions as not just misguided, but as a dangerous misuse of military personnel. He labeled it political theater, immediately stripping the action of any claimed legitimacy and setting a contemptuous tone. From this policy-based critique, Carbajal pivoted to a direct and deeply personal accusation, the alleged sharing of classified information in a Signal group chat that included a journalist and family members. This was the strategic centerpiece of his attack. By moving from a debatable policy to an alleged crime, he elevated the stakes from incompetence to illegality. He didn't present tangible evidence within the hearing. Instead, he used the accusation itself as a weapon, forcing Hegseth into a defensive posture. His framing, "Will you take responsibility for having made a mistake?" Not to mention many people would say break the law, was a classic prosecutorial trap, presuming guilt. Having established this foundation of alleged malfeasance, Carbajal then broadened his attack to test Hegseth's loyalty and geopolitical judgment, questioning him on support for Ukraine and commitment to NATO's Article 5. These were not questions seeking information. They were loyalty tests designed to be answered with a simple yes, the failure to do so being framed as a betrayal of American interests and allies. The final question about whether political allegiance to the president is a requirement for service was the capstone, designed to suggest that the entire department was compromised by political fealty rather than constitutional duty. The strategic objective was clear: to paint a comprehensive picture of a secretary who is reckless with national security, evasive under scrutiny, weak on foreign policy, and fundamentally unfit for office. The method was not discovery, but condemnation. Carbajal's attitude and demeanor were the primary vehicles for this strategy. His tone was relentlessly prosecutorial, dripping with sarcasm and disdain. Phrases like, "This isn't Fox anymore," another BS answer, and "Isn't that easy?" were not inquiries, but verbal jabs meant to unnerve the witness and signal to the audience that Hegseth's answers were worthless. His persistent demand for yes or no answers was a powerful tool of control. It is a classic tactic used to strip a witness of the ability to provide context, nuance, or their own talking points. By forcing complex issues into a binary choice, Carbajal could frame any hesitation or explanation as evasion and dishonesty. When Hegseth attempted to provide a standard, politically framed answer like President Trump is committed to peace, Carbajal immediately cut him off, comparing him unfavorably to a kindergartner. This aggressive interruption served to dominate the exchange, denying Hegseth any opportunity to build a counter-narrative. This calculated performance of controlled rage and moral superiority was designed to project an image of a powerful watchdog holding a corrupt official's feet to the fire. For a public audience watching clips on social media, This demeanor is far more impactful than a nuanced policy debate. It creates a clear hero and villain dynamic, which was precisely Carvajal's intent. The third pillar of his performance was his masterful adaptation to Hegseth's responses, or lack thereof. Carvajal excelled at weaponizing the secretary's evasiveness. When Hegseth refused to give a direct yes or no on whether Marines were ordered to protect property by any means necessary, instead stating they had the full authority to protect federal ICE agents and federal buildings, Carvajal didn't just move on. He used that non-answer as proof of deceit, a tactic he repeated throughout the hearing. He demonstrated an acute ability to listen for what wasn't being said and to use the silence or deflection as confirmation of his own premise. His control over the flow of the narrative was nearly absolute. He never allowed Hegseth to steer the conversation. Every time the secretary tried to pivot, Carvajal would reclaim his time, recenter the question, or simply talk over him. The culmination of this control was his final dramatic act. Realizing he had pushed Hegseth as far as he could and had successfully created a series of damaging soundbites, Carvajal ceased questioning altogether. His closing monologue was not addressed to the witness as much as it was to the public record and the cameras. Calling Hegseth not worthy of my attention, an embarrassment to this country, and unfit to lead before telling him to get the hell out was the ultimate power move. It transformed the hearing from an interrogation into a public sentencing, with Carvajal acting as judge and jury. In conclusion, returning to our initial question, Carvajal's performance was not a genuine exercise in legislative oversight aimed at uncovering truth. It was, by its very design, a masterfully executed piece of political demolition. He used his time, his platform, and his skills as a communicator to prosecute, judge, and sentence the Secretary of Defense in the court of public opinion. While some may see this as a necessary and powerful form of accountability, a brave politician speaking truth to power in an age of evasion, others will view it as a symptom of a toxic political culture. It highlights a shift where the goal of such hearings is no longer to inform policy but to generate viral moments and energize a political base. It was a strategic success in terms of political theater, but its value in terms of constructive governance is far more debatable. It was, in the end, an undeniable and captivating spectacle of raw political combat. What do you think of this approach? Is this aggressive, prosecutorial style necessary to hold officials accountable, or does it contribute to the erosion of civil discourse and democratic norms? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analyses.